Hi, Miriam. I don't know if you can see me. I can't see you yet.
Oh, I'm missing. There we go. There we go. Hi. Good to see you. Good to see you, Julia.
See you too. We're in the middle of a move.
Oh.
So all kinds of things set up for us. How are you doing?
Grand. Good, thank you. Good, thank you. Julia, I need to leave about quarter to 8 if that's okay. You know, I'm just well, so 3/4 an hour. I'm just very tired. But I'd love to come for part of it if that's okay. You know.
Of course, you are always welcome, Miriam. That's no problem. It sounds like the timing will probably work out perfectly just for the close reading section, and then when we shift into the writing, you can just skedaddle, or you can do the writing with us and then skedaddle afterward and share it with a partner later.
That's lovely. I actually love doing the close reading anyways. I really enjoy it, you know.
Perfect. So, well, that'll work out perfectly then.
Wonderful.
So what's going on in life for you that you're a little tired today?
It's just work is very hectic, Julia, you know, and it's just but I'm taking a few days off in September, so that'll be good, you know. Yeah, great. Work is just kind of a bit full on, you know.
Great. I'm proud of you. I know that's hard to take the time off that we need. So
yeah, thank you. How are you?
Great. We're in the middle of a move and I'm 7.5 months pregnant now. And
wow.
It feels like life is just, up in the air, busy. But it's exciting too. It's a really exciting time. So I'm trying to embrace the change as much as I can and not get too scared by it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's good to have little anchors, I've learned, or I am learning. Things like this that don't, that kind of provide a little space for grounding, that don't necessarily change, that are just consistent over time.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah. I'm noticing how many anchors I've built into my life, and I'm really glad that I have them.
Great. So, yes, they're helpful, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Wonderful.
Catalina, hello.
Hello.
Good to see you, honey. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I have to tell you, I have a small cat in my room, and you might hear some noises from time to time because she's new and she is just adjusting. Yes.
Does she like to be picked up?
Yes, I
can. You show her to us?
Yes.
Yay.
She looks like that.
Oh my gosh, what a cute pie.
That's beautiful.
She is very small and very nice.
Gorgeous girl.
Thank you.
She's new to your home?
Sorry?
She's new to your home?
Yes.
So where did you get her?
Well, actually it's from I think there are 4 hours from Yash, because someone just showed me a picture and I said I like her very much and just brought me.
Love it. I love it. That's great. Is she your only pet?
Sorry?
Is she your only pet?
Yes, my only pet, yes.
Oh, that's going to be such an adventure. I love it.
Yes, it is already.
We have 4 dogs, and they are such a handful. I'd love to have a cat as well. My husband and I are both allergic, but the thought of just having a sweet little kitty at home is delightful.
Yes, it is.
Claire, it's so good to see you, honey. Welcome. It's been way too long.
It's been a long time. Sorry, it popped up in my emails today, and I thought, yes, I'm going to do that today. Yes,
I'm so glad you did. What's new?
What's new? Oh goodness! Oh wow! It was a long time ago. I'm doing the Columbia course, so that's new.
That's
amazing. I've done 3 modules. So I'm
Which modules?
I did the close reading one, and then the pedagogy
Great.
And then the creative writing, which
wonderful.
I really liked.
Oh,
I totally
that's great.
surprised myself by fiction.
That's wonderful. I can see that in you.
So that was quite interesting. That's the bit I thought, no way I'm going to go anywhere near. And it was like, oh, this is interesting.
That's
It was
wonderful. I can see that in you. You have that creative writing bug already. I just, in the little bit of time we've gotten to spend together, I'm so glad that you're really tending that. That's awesome.
And yourself? How are you?
Great. So I'm pregnant. We're
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're due around Halloween time. It's our trick or treat baby is what we're calling her.
Fabulous.
And yeah, just getting ready for that big shift, but nothing else.
That's
nothing else.
That's wonderful.
That's major enough.
That's big enough.
Wonderful.
That's big enough. Exactly.
I'm good with that. All right. Oh, welcome, Anna. Is Catherine here with you today, Anna? We can't see your screen.
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
How was your trip to the US?
It's good. I'm only back a few days, so I'm good. I'm good. It was good. It was great.
Well, you look refreshed and wonderful, and
Well, hopefully, yeah. I just got over jet lag, so I'm good.
great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, welcome back.
Mom won't be joining us for the actual material because she's in a car and she's driving home and she's just going to be late, but she might pop in for again to say hi.
Sounds good. That sounds great. We'd love to see her just to pop in too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give everybody else another minute or so. I know Daniel had a friend who is joining. Hi, Daniel.
Not sure if he's going to make this one or he might actually end up making the next one. He said he had some family stuff, so I don't know if he'll jump on.
No problem at all. We'd love to have him any old time. I'm going to go ahead and start our slideshow. Share. Oop, nope, not share. Hang on. Done. Presenter view. Nope. Wrong one again. You'd think I'd get this by now. Can you guys see the slideshow? Here, let me actually start it one more time. Start from the beginning. That's the one I meant. Okay, we got it. All right, so we'll give everybody then a good minute. Oh, someone just signed up, so hopefully he'll join us. What's new with you, Daniel?
We're debating if we're going to be getting a third dog.
That's great. Oh, that's great.
This is a dog that I guess is only 2 years old and unexpected baby, and they're trying to find maybe a good home for it. I'm like, I don't know if we need a third dog, but I don't know. So
well, I know you've got one that's getting older, and I think I love bringing a new baby in with an old baby because it's kind of like they soak in a little bit of the personality, or they learn a lot from the older pet, and it's just a kind of a way of keeping that pet alive too, keeping them around and a part of the family. And it's just good to have like an older sibling for a little while that can show you the ropes. I love that idea. All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Let me pull up my participants tab. If somebody else jumps in, I'll keep it open for the next 5 or 10. Okay, so last month we were studying the work of Frida Kahlo under the umbrella of Disabled Pride Month, which was July. And there was something that came up a lot in discussion that I don't feel like we addressed fully enough, which was the fact of the unseen parts of disability. For those of you who were here with us last time, we looked at a painting of Frida Kahlo, a self-portrait where she was standing naked from the waist up, and the center of her body along the center line was split open, and you could see a spine that was just barely hung together. It was called broken column. Those in narrative medicine classes like Claire, I'm sure, have done this painting before. And something that came up was the fact that, if that column were sealed, if that chasm were sealed, we wouldn't know about the experience of pain underneath. She had to open it for us, literally break herself open so that we could see that. And I just didn't feel like we really got a chance to explore that, the unseen parts of disability quite enough. So I chose a poem for us to look at today. That is from actually the 2022 Pulitzer Prize winner, Diane Seuss. This is the book it comes from. It's called Frank Sonnets. And what I love about Diane Seuss is how she plays with the sonnet form. Typically, sonnets are almost regal, so beautiful, over the top language, you know, very precise in their attention to rhyme and rhythm and form. They adhere to a very particular structure. They, by definition, usually have 14 lines. And also by definition have something called a volta, which is just an Italian word for turn. The volta is a part in a sonnet that surprises us, or perhaps even the writer as well, a point at which everything up until the sonnet at that point seems to be saying one thing, and then the volta happens and you read the whole poem in a new light. You understand it in a different way. So all sonnets typically have this 14-line structure and a volta, and typically have a lot of other formal qualities as well. Now, Diane Seuss has created her own kind of sonnet, which is about as badass as it gets. She just created her own style of doing things, and it's much more, well, you know what? Instead of me telling you what her sonnets are like, we'll just read it together and I'll ask you what her sonnets are like. But first, a little bit about Diane Seuss. No relation to the good doctor, at least I don't think so. So Diane Seuss, she was born in Michigan City, Indiana in 1956. She was raised in Edwardsburg and Niles, Michigan. She studied at Kalamazoo College and Western Michigan University, where she received a master's degree in social work. A lot of her writing actually discusses her experience as a social worker. It also discusses a lot of her experience being the mother of a drug addict and the former wife of a drug addict. So she writes about real things that are not regal or highfalutin as a lot of sonnets tend to describe. She is the author of 5 books of poetry, including this one, Frank Sonnets, which won all these incredible awards, the PEN/Volkner Award for Poetry, the National Book Critics Circle Award for Poetry, and the most recent 2022 Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. I'll skip the rest, just a bunch of accolades. She's a fantastic writer. I hope you guys enjoy her. After we look at one of her sonnets today, I'm actually going to give you a few more just to look at on your own. Ooh. Oh no. Okay, well, this is fine because I was worried that it might be a little too small in the presentation anyway. So I'm going to open up a new screen share. And we're just going to do a desktop share, and I'll pull up. Pay no attention, pay no attention. Move. All right, I'll pull this up. I was worried we wouldn't have quite enough size there anyway, so I think this will be more readable. Can everyone see this pretty well? Okay, great. So believe it or not, this is a sonnet. Doesn't look much like one, at least for those who are familiar with reading sonnets. Let's read it together and see if it sounds like one too. Who would like to read this out loud for us first? You can just raise your hand. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Miriam. So as Miriam reads, don't worry about writing anything down. Just let it kind of wash over you. You can close your eyes if you like. Miriam, whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Freelance artist. That's what you say when someone asks, what do you do? You've got to have that ready to pull out of your back pocket. What kind of art do you do? Oh, this and that. Landscapes, lots of landscapes. If you tell the truth, I'm on disability. especially if they can't see anything wrong with you, no missing limb or visible twitches or tics you get. Don't you want to work? Wouldn't you feel better if you did something with your life? As if I wouldn't want a job, as if any person wouldn't want to be respectable. Leg blown off, yeah, that's a pain. That's pain. If your life is your pain, if you go through your days feeling fear all the time, anxiety, dread, regret, guilt, there's no prescription for that. Not really. You take the doctor's little pills. A bit less hope with each new prescription that doesn't fix a thing. You can get a wooden leg. They can fasten you together with screws. You can't cut out the part of yourself that doesn't work right. You can't get a wooden brain. So you do stupid things to yourself in order to numb the pain. You do things that you wouldn't do under normal conditions. Things that make it better for a while, but destroy you in the long run. Like the reason you're on disability is made worse by being on disability. I want people to know that I'm suffering, but at the same time, I want them to see me as a normal person. So when I go to pick up a sandwich, I want to feel like this person recognizes that I'm something other, but still deserving of sympathy, not empathy, sympathy, of being called a human being. Sometimes I want to be looked at as a freak. I want people to stare at me like that so that they don't expect me to be normal. I can't live up to normal. Sometimes I embrace it. I embrace the title, disability. That's what I am.
Great. Thank you so much, Miriam. Before I call another speaker, I'm just checking to make sure nobody else in the waiting room. Great. All right, so this time we're gonna have another reader read again, and I'd like everybody to be listening for words or interesting phrases that call their attention. Make a note of them, just one or two is fine, and also be listening for what kind of speaker this is. What can we tell about this speaker just based on this writing? Who would like to read next? Wonderful. Thank you so much, Claire.
Freelance artist. That's what you say when somebody asks, what do you do? You've got to have that ready to pull out of your back pocket. What kind of art do you do? Oh, this and that. Landscapes, lots of landscapes. If you tell the truth, I'm on disability, especially if they can't see anything wrong with you, no missing limb or visible twitches or tics, you get, don't you want to work? Wouldn't you feel better if you did something with your life? As if I wouldn't want a job, as if any person doesn't want to be respectable. Leg blown off, yeah, that's pain. If your life is your pain, if you go through your days feeling fear all the time, anxiety, dread, regret, guilt, there's no prescription for that. Not really. You take the doctor's little pills, a bit less hope with each new prescription that doesn't fix a thing. You can get a wooden leg, they can fasten you together with screws. You can't cut out the part of yourself that doesn't work right. You can't get a wooden brain. So you do stupid things to yourself in order to numb the pain. You do things that you wouldn't do under normal conditions. Things that make it better for a while, but destroy you in the long run. Like the reason you're on disability is made worse by being on disability. I want people to know that I'm suffering, but at the same time, I want them to see me as a normal person. So when I go pick up a sandwich, I want to feel like this person recognizes that I'm something other, but still deserving of sympathy. Not empathy, sympathy, of being called a human being. Sometimes I want to be looked at as a freak. I want people to stare at me like that, so that they don't expect me to be normal. I can't live up to normal. Sometimes I embrace it. I embrace the title, disability. That's what I am.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's pull up the chat box and just spend the next minute or two writing down that word or phrase that you are curious about. or surprised you? Can you guys see this behind my, like if I put the chat box here, can you still see it? Can you still see the whole poem?
Not the whole poem, most of it.
Most of it. Oh, there we go. Let me see if I can make it a little tinier. There we go. Can everybody see the whole one?
Yeah.
Great. 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 Daniel, I bet you do. Daniel says, I feel like I see this nearly daily in my line of work. And I bet this is a conversation that we've had, if not with others we work with, maybe with ourselves. Miriam points out, not empathy, sympathy. Let's definitely put a pin in that. Let's talk about those differences. And then the word freak, right? Yeah, that definitely sounds a buzzer in me as I read it.
Mm.
On the opening sentence and the last two sentences, I'm glad you noticed that. Great. We're definitely going to talk about that. Daniel echoes that, disability, that's what I am. Great. So does Catalina. Great. Okay, this is all wonderful. All right, we're gonna definitely have time for all of this. So let me start out just by asking that same question I asked you to consider. What kind of speaker is this? What can we tell about this speaker just based on the words on the page?
Conversational. She's talking to someone.
Okay,
Kind of
great.
Yeah, reaching out or something. Because it's you all the time. A lot of it anyway.
This is not
Conversational.
new. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say this is not a conversation that she's just had once. This is a repeated conversation, and this you can sort of feel the frustration of kind of putting the sentences first, as if I wouldn't want a job. So all these is like having a conversation amongst themselves first, and then it's that frustration of repeating and repeating and repeating.
It sounds autobiographical rather than like creative writing. It really sounds like it's coming from the heart, from lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I'm just hearing that this person isn't seen, and so they want to be, and so they've tried repeatedly, and this is what their final you know, I don't want to say final phrase. This is what they've kind of accumulated over time to explain.
Yes, thank you for putting words to that, Daniel. I got the same impression, almost as if this is a facet, or the painting that we looked at last month, Broken Column, is reaching for the same thing that this poem is, which is a breaking open, a look at what's on the inside, see what isn't seen. Yes, thank you so much for pointing that out. And yes, let's talk a little bit about that conversational tone too. For those of you who are familiar with, for example, the Shakespearean sonnet, how is this different? How is the tone different? How is the form different?
The structure is very different. It's much more fluid, and it's almost like prose. It's running from one sentence into another, and very fluid, isn't it?
Yep, great.
And there are short sentences as well. I don't know, there's something about kind of choppiness and speed and kind of, yeah.
Yep. What else?
A lot of don't you.
Yeah.
The use of the word you, isn't there? Don't you want to work? What do you do? you can get a wooden leg, you do stupid things. Almost that sort of stepping back and observing somebody else.
Ooh, I love that analysis. So the you, that second person voice, allows the speaker to step back and look at this as if it is someone else speaking or someone else experiencing it. Am I getting that right, Claire? So it's creating a remove. What else could the you be doing? How does the you work?
I thought the person, sorry, apologies, you go first. You go, Catalina.
No, I was just wanted to say that in the end, it is I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it switch to I?
After things that make it better for a while but destroy it in the long run, and then it's I want people to know that I'm suffering. There is the I.
Why do you think it switches to I there?
Well, for me, it was like a confession to someone just to be better understood. I don't know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pivotal.
Yeah.
Like, sorry. Like, I mean, it's a very striking line compared to everything else being kind of said, and it's very much her own line. The other ones are kind of like, yeah, you can, you can imagine this happening to you and this happening to you, but this is my suffering, and I want you. It's kind of, there's a kind of a point of hitting there, and it's like not a desperation is kind of what comes to my mind. I think when you want someone to know you're suffering, it's desperate anyway, a little bit, but yeah, she's not saying it's
yeah, that also makes me think of ownership too. The you, if that is creating remove, distance, so that you can see from the outside in, the I brings us in close and claims it too. There's a claiming happening with that I that really resonates with those last couple of lines. I can't live up to normal. Sometimes I embrace it. I embrace the title, disability. That's what I am. There's an, maybe this is one revelation of the Volta here, that turn to the I. What else? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, there's a bit of power. There's a bit of, it's surprisingly, it's kind of, I thought it was lighter with the I compared to the you. It was very much kind of, yeah, that removal, but also kind of nearly frustration. I kind of read it as like, how would you feel if this was happening? And then she suddenly turns to I, which is intimate, and it's not I was going to say liberating, but more empowering, because she's kind of standing up and going, well, look at me, and she's going with it, and there's a bit more kind of personal inquiry into her when she started speaking about herself all of a sudden.
Great points. I love looking at the you as a kind of, as educational. This is what it would be like if this were you.
Kind of, I'm different, but I'm as you are, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting, Catalina. So if the you is saying, so on one hand, the you is creating safe distance. And on the other hand, it's also pulling in and saying, this could be you as well, pulling the reader in and kind of asking them to experience what the speaker has experienced. Both are happening at the same time. And then it makes the Volta even more pronounced when, toward the last few lines, she's saying, it can't be you. Or perhaps, I want to be seen as not you. I want to be seen as other than you. I want you to recognize that I'm not like you. And all of these conflicting emotions are held together in this 14 lines. Great points, you guys. So we have a sonnet that's not quite a sonnet, but maybe more like a sonnet than any sonnet I've ever read. It's not quite like a sonnet in that it is fluid, it is prose, it has short sentences, it uses a you voice. What else? For anybody who knows anything about sonnets, what is different about this kind of sonnet? What about subject material? What does a sonnet usually talk about?
Love, flowers.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does this talk about?
This is more real. It's very the reality, the gritty.
Yeah, human, very human.
Reality.
Yeah, the landscapes. That's an interesting word. That lots of landscapes. That kind of so much about a person. So that there's so many layers of what's seen and what's not seen. And also, I suppose if you're thinking sonnets about love, it's maybe finding her way back to loving herself. Possibly, is it assumption there? But
yes, and find that at least that resonates.
Not maybe loving, but accepting.
Someone earlier said that I voice becomes an empowering voice of personal inquiry, which I would consider an act of love. And looking at the subject matter as being one that is real and gritty and about real humans and not idealized loved ones. What does this kind of sonnet tell us about the lived experience of the writer? Let me ask that in a different way, because I feel like that was kind of a jangled question. Why do you think the writer chose this kind of sonnet as the form for a discussion about disability?
Does it emulate the lack of control in her life and the lack of structure?
Yeah, like it's the irony of a sonnet for disability, I guess. It's kind of playing on it a little bit.
Tell me more, Anna. That's great.
Well, I mean, just thinking of the perfect sonnet, like the perfect shape, and everything about a sonnet is perfect and lovely and not very real. If we're talking about romance, love, and the moonlight, which is falling into the ocean, it's not very realistic. But you know, that's what's said all the time, and everyone goes for it. But this is so, she's just rejected all of that kind of, you know, for her, because it's not real for her. This is what's real for her, and she's calling it still a sonnet because she can, and she's making it perfect for her. And it's in no way looking like a sonnet, but I guess, yeah.
Beautifully said. So she's rejecting the ideal forms here. She's making it perfect for her, making it real. In what ways does she do that? How does she make this real?
I think by just calling it a sonnet, you already have that certain structure of what it's supposed to be like. And then she deviates from that. And so it's like, this is a sonnet, and you're reading like this isn't, right? And so representative of the story.
Fantastic point, Daniel. Just by calling it a sonnet, she is calling us to imagine what the ideal is. What it's supposed to be is front and center, just by calling it a sonnet. And how similar to, you know, ability and disability studies, by calling something disability, it kind of makes you think of the ideal form. What is ability? You know, what is normal? What am I supposed to look like? How can I defy that and still make it perfect for me? So why else do you think she chooses the sonnet form at all? Someone mentioned you know, lack of control, lack of structure. Maybe this is providing a little bit of that for her. Let's keep talking. Why choose a sonnet at all if you're just going to defy it? What does the sonnet give her?
Maybe it's just a way to make something different, but the same as I said earlier, you know, it's a sonnet, but it's not a sonnet. So I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep going, Catalina. I like that idea.
Well, and I really, I'm stuck at this phrase, like not phrase, like 2 words, not empathy, but sympathy. Because if we think about empathy, it's supposed to be able to understand the other one. But it's like, I'm conscious that you will never be able to understand me, but still I deserve sympathy. I don't know. It's I think it's a matter of asking for, I don't know, like it was said before, like being noticed, like having a voice, like as I am, as knowing that you will never understand me. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying. I remember a phrase said by I don't remember exactly the name. I think it was Sayantana Dasgupta or something like that. She has a TED Talk, and there is a phrase like, try to understand, be conscious that you will never understand, but still try to do it. And I'm going there with these ideas.
Yes. And there's an ethic there, right? Try to understand, knowing you will never understand.
Yeah.
Both parts of that sentence are the ethic.
Mm-hmm.
Try to understand, knowing you will not. What is, let's take a step back and just define empathy and sympathy. How do you guys define, what's the difference?
I think Brene Brown talked about it one time, and so I'm probably butchering it up, but I think when we look at like sympathy, it's almost kind of pity in a sense.
It's not.
Because you're not really relating to the person, you're almost kind of pitying them.
When I was younger, to the way I learned empathy and sympathy, I still remember from school because I think we had a video of, you know, it was basically someone was walking and they fell into a hole and they got stuck in the hole. And sympathy is when someone's looking down into the hole and going, God, like, poor you, at least, you know, you're alive, and, you know, kind of just looking down, and they use the word at least a lot. But they're not with you, but they just see you, and they see kind of a little bit of problematic things going on, but they might as well move on. And then empathy is when they see the person down there and they get a ladder and they start walking down and they just sit there with them. They might not get up. I mean, that's another level. Maybe that's compassion or something, but their empathy, they've sat down with them in the hole. That's how I always remembered it.
Yeah, that's that video. There's a great video that comes from Brene Brown, actually, that Daniel's referencing, that has, I think they're animals, like one's a goat looking down at a bear in the hole, and it plays that out. But it's reversed. So Daniel is saying that empathy is the kind of pity, and you're saying that sympathy is the looking down, whereas empathy is being with.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was sharing it. Sympathy is more of the pity.
Sympathy is a pity. Got it. So you guys are on the same page.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So does anybody see it differently? Does anybody see sympathy as not pity? Or not looking down?
I read somewhere, but I don't remember. I was trying to remember where did I read that. I think it was someone who was saying that sympathy it's not pity. It's something more like being with the person, but I don't remember exactly where I read it. I'm sorry, I did not remember.
I think they did. different parts,
sympathy
acting
as
different
well.
parts of the brain.
Hmm?
You go. You can go.
I have said what I wanted to say.
Okay. I think they act in different parts of the brain, though, don't they? That and they functionally they're in different parts of the brain, sympathy and empathy, and certainly current research is much more that, or the current thoughts is actually that empathy, well, and then empathy and compassion are different, but current does seem to be about more the Brené Brown approach, that sympathy does have that kind of pitying component, and very linked with what Anna's saying there too, about being the person who's experiencing it is kind of lower than, while empathy is more being equals. So I'm really surprised at that one, not empathy, sympathy, because it's kind of othering herself. But she says she wants to be othered in the next line. I'm something other.
That's great. This is all wonderful. I'm just gonna
also,
yes.
I mean, that line, sympathy, also just recognition. So we can be sympathetic and we're not necessarily pitying somebody, we're just recognizing that they're suffering. So sometimes it's maybe not questioning. So that line, not empathy, sympathy, just don't question, I don't need anything, just awareness that this is tough.
Yeah.
That sort of approach.
Yes. Acknowledgement, recognition, being seen, as somebody else said earlier. I agree with you, Claire. I have a bias toward the word sympathy, because I see sympathy as a I see empathy more as a presumption that you can understand what someone else is going through, like, or at least I feel like empathy is a little bit of a quagmire for me. The more I think about the word empathy, the more I think there's a lot of assumptions made in empathy that I can feel what somebody else is feeling, whereas sympathy at least acknowledges otherness and difference. These are tricky words, and a lot of people have attempted to define them in very different ways, but I think we're all kind of getting to the same sort of message, which is exactly what Catalina says, this ethic of trying to understand, knowing you will never be understood. I mean, however we define empathy or sympathy or whatever biases we have, that's, I think, what everybody's really saying here is that at root, what we're aiming for is that recognition, that acknowledgement, despite the fact that we know we'll never really be in somebody else's shoes. So then what is she saying then when she says she is still deserving of sympathy, not empathy, sympathy, of being called a human being? What is she really asking for there?
It kind of, I mean, thinking about honest, explanation of sympathy and empathy, it's almost like, I don't want you to kind of really sit here and be with me. Like, I just want you to see me and see that I'm different.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the best of both worlds. She still wants to be not unique, but she's very much, she's in a way, there's maybe an indirect way of saying she's already accepted herself. And so to stand to kind of I'm kind of butchering my own words, but I was trying to catch on. But yeah, there's a bit of distance, but kind of nearly like not a boundary, but kind of seeing, but also having the ability to kind of see, not down as in down in the hole, but nearly when to come back to me, I'm kind of still thinking and spewing it out at the same time.
I'm gonna keep you in the hot seat, Anna, because I think you're on to something here. Because I think what you're onto really circles back to what you pointed out in the chat box about the difference between the first line and the last two lines. If she's asking to be seen, not down in the hole, but just as she is, what is she asked to be seen as? So we start out with the first line, which is the freelance artist. That's what you say when someone asks, what do you do? So in the very first line, she defines herself both as a freelance artist and by what she does. And the last line, as you pointed out, Anna, it's different. She defines herself as, or she embraces the title of disability, and then she says, that's what I am. So a difference between what you do and what you are from beginning to end. There's another volta there, I think. And I'd love to open that to the group, you know, or Anna, who's still in the hot seat here. What do you make of the change between beginning and end? Or is there a change? Maybe there's not.
I think there's kind of a difference in honesty or tone of being honest there, and a confidence or a layer. The freelance artist is kind of the way she opens up is kind of that prepare. It's like a preparation piece. Pose, disability is what I am. It's taking off the clothes of the artist and being vulnerable and raw. But she says it in such a definite way, you know, the full stops and that's what I am, you know, and, you know, kind of so there's a little bit, there's an ownership, but like it's yours, and it's no one else's, so that's why maybe it can't be shared, but not in a mean way, but just in a, I'm owning it and you can see it and you can honor it and respect it, but you might not understand ever what it is, but to see it kind of with that kind of respect and keeping it hers, I guess.
Yeah, honesty, ownership, keeping it hers.
Also an element of trust. You know, when somebody, how often we all say, you know, people ask, what do you do? And you're defined by your job and your role, but it's not who you are. Many more things than just the job you do and what you allow people to see. So, and that doesn't really come out until you perhaps trust someone or get to know someone a little bit more to actually say, well, I'm all of these things and this is who I am, take it or leave it. What I do is just a part of it. There's almost that kind of building trust as she goes through.
Beautiful, Claire. I love that interpretation. So as she's telling us what she does, what she thinks, the things she wouldn't do under normal conditions, the vulnerability of those, as Catalina put it, confessions, she's revealing parts of who she is. So then why in the end does she embrace just a title, disability? That's what I am. Maybe I shouldn't put the word just in there. I redact the word. I redact the word just. Why do you think that she embraces the title disability? That's what I am.
I think just with bumping in on that kind of one word, it's kind of like this. She's one word now versus a whole paragraph before or a whole explanation. And I feel like only in a very mild way. I mean, I think it can be related in various ways to other people, but I mean, to say you're this at the beginning, the freelance artist, and how even if that's just slightly not true for you or not who you are, you end up having to prepare these lines and these explanations because it gets complicated and there's a lot of explaining involved, or then there's just a lot of words involved and you end up spewing all this out. Then at the very end, it's kind of a realization as well. I mean, even though she maybe knew it, there's a realization and a kind of relief that she's found out that she can just say in one word what she is, and there's an acceptance there. And she's, you know, it's not like there's a new paragraph that says what the disability is. She just stopped there because she's there, and that's what she's kind of say no more kind of thing. And yeah. Here I am, you know.
So she has an identity, right? This disability, she's accepted that. That's her identity, and therefore you can kind of branch off from that.
It makes me think of other words that have historically been used to malign certain people, you know, that are considered bad words for these people, that have been reclaimed as empowering words to describe, you know, a people or a movement, like the word queer, for example, historically used in a derogatory way, now celebrated, owned, queer pride. And it makes me think, is this word disability being used in a similar way? And I start thinking, well, by the end, is it a powerful word, or is it a word that is being claimed precisely because it's not powerful, precisely because it shows otherness, or that freakishness that demands to be seen, the vulnerability itself demands to be seen. And then it makes me think maybe vulnerability is the kind of power that is a kind of power too. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that that word disability is that there's power there by the end?
I think there is. It reminds me of somebody I've worked with where they're like, I'm a disabled veteran, right? That's their identity. If I wasn't a disabled veteran, what would I be? They're like, I would be a loser. Like I would, you know, so at least there's something for them to kind of hold on to, you know.
Mm.
In a way, another kind of normality or something, I don't know.
Mm. Another kind of normality.
Yeah, I just get a kind of no complications involved here. Going back to kind of the whole explaining it and stuff, it's just kind of simple and she's okay with it as well. I mean, the only way I can relate sometimes, in one way I relate to this piece, if you don't mind me saying so, it's just I feel like I've nearly had kind of this, I don't have a disability, I admit, but just in terms of a lot of what the lines are, you know, with I've decided, you know, in my own personal life, I decided on something once, and at the beginning of deciding it, I wasn't very confident with it, and I was wondering how to say what I'm going to say and how to explain it to other people, because they're going to ask why, and then I'm going to have to think about, well, why did I plan this? Why do I want this going into the future? And then I went on, and I realized every time I explained it, I was just yapping on, kind of wording out so much rubbish, really. And then at some point I realized the answer is actually, I don't know, or at least I haven't decided yet. And when it's just a difference, swapping out, not that this is all rubbish, but just swapping out lots of previous explanations and telling them what I do in my art, you know, like that type of thing. Just sticking to I don't know just makes it simpler for me, because what I, you know, and I'm thinking about myself more than perhaps trying to make everyone be on my side, because it's impossible to find everyone's going to be on your side. So you just stick to the truth and be on your side as well, and don't and stay in the moment of now, who you are, not what you were and not what you're going to be. And at this point, this person is recognizing that, and it's just in my head, it's just, I see this as it's a simpler way for her to see herself, and in that it's lighter to hold as well. I think there's a lightness at the end.
You are so on point. In fact, I wanted to, oh, there it is. To your point that this finally gets to this point at the end that she's sticking to the now. This is and sticking to the self, the I. This is what I am. This is it in its simplest form. This is something that Frank Sonnets really strives to do in other poems as well. The best is when you respond only to the absolute present tense, the rain, rain, a wind, an iridescent cloud, another shooting, yada, yada. She sticks to this present moment. And that's, this whole book really kind of, in a sense, defies story, defies at least what we think of as story, as linear, as moral based, as something that has a point that they're trying to get across. These sonnets really strive toward a boiling down to a simplicity, and you put that so well. Yeah, this whole sonnet is a rehashing of old explanations, perhaps conversationally or repeatedly given to others, and then getting to this point of, this is it in its simplest essence. This is what it is. This is who I am. So I thought that was so incredibly perceptive. Does anybody see it a little differently? Does anybody see this as more of a linear story, or not a boiling down?
I mean, I mentioned how I kind of see this so frequently, and it almost kind of is linear to me in a sense, right? My clinical brain, I'm trying to really shut it off, because I kind of see this and then I begin to empathize and try to really understand where this person is at. And so it's just kind of, I mean, it's really well written, don't get me wrong, like this is just the norm, but like I just, some of those phrases that are in there really just kind of, bring me back to what I do, right? Leg blown off, just take this pill, and, kind of numbing of the pain. And it's just phrases I hear all the time.
Yeah, reading this, the first time I read this, I actually thought of you, Daniel. I thought of these being conversations you've probably heard quite frequently, working with vets. And anybody who works with anyone in pain, I'm sure, has had variations on this conversation. And how interesting that we get to talk about these, what are fairly common conversations in pain care, in the form of a sonnet, kind of blowing up of this typical regal form and bringing it back to this, I shouldn't say back, just bringing it to this common parlance, that this conversational way of speaking that feels so familiar to all of us. So in service of familiarity and our own stories kind of intermingling with this story, let's jump into some writing right now. And we're actually going to write our own sonnets today. Any last words of wisdom or curiosities or questions or anything you guys want to talk about?
I just wanted to say that there was, if you tell the truth to the others, and it ends up with, that's what I am. And I like it very much, like going away from the, of the pressure of the others, to do in a way, to say something, to look in a way, and then to go back to what you are. And for me, it's a kind of acceptance, as I think Anna said at some point. Because this, if you tell the truth, it was very, I don't know, caught my attention.
As you're talking, I'm thinking back to Claire's point about the landscapes, and noticing how landscapes are devoid of people. And by the end, we have a person. We have the truth of a person here. And this person is front and center with that I. And there's an acceptance of that person that is denied at the beginning. There's another Volta for us right there. Thank you, Catalina. That was really wonderful. Any other last thoughts? Anything on the chat list that we didn't get a chance to really flesh out together? Okay, great. So I'll stop this share and start my old share again. Okay. Oh, it was there the whole time. All right. We're going to start a timer for 5 minutes. Nope, we're not. We're not going to start a timer for 5 minutes today. What we're going to do is we're just going to write until we have 14 lines. They can be short lines. They can be long lines. Doesn't matter. Maybe you experiment and see what happens. But we're just going to write for 14 lines. And we're either going to tell about a time you could not live up to normal, or you're going to write about a truth that lives inside you that others cannot see. I'm betting this is going to take us 7 or 8 minutes, so maybe a little longer than normal. If you don't make it to 14 lines, it's totally fine. When you get done with your 14 lines, you can just look up or give me a thumbs up to signal that you're done. Does that make sense? All right, whenever you're ready, let's get started. All right, friends. Try to finish up your close to last line. And you can just look up at the camera to signal when you're done. All right. So we've got 4 folks left after Miriam had to run out. So that's perfect. We'll have 2 chat rooms. I am going to create 2 breakout rooms. This time, I know everybody here knows how we play the next game, which is just quick reminder, everything shared in breakout rooms stays in breakout rooms. Everybody give me a thumbs up that everything's private in the breakout rooms. Wonderful. Each person will have about 7 minutes to share. I'll let you know when to swap. I'll send you a little message. So someone will share, the other person will listen. You will do the same thing that we did with Diane Seuss's poem, which is pay close attention to certain words, phrases, images that call your attention, questions it makes you ask, and you will close read your partner's writing with the same attention to detail we gave Diane. I'm going to add one little thing in there today. I'm going to ask you guys to listen for a volta. And you may decide that there's not one, but I'm going to bet there is at least something resembling a volta in each one of our writings. So if you, as you listen to your partner, try to identify that moment of surprise or learning or epiphany or change. Try to identify the turn. All right, I'm going to create these rooms now. I'll let you know when to switch partners. Any questions about the volta or anything else? Okay, have fun, guys. Set timer for 7 minutes. Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Hi.
So I'd love to hear from everyone. If you're comfortable answering, what did you learn about your own Volta? What did you learn about your own Volta? If you're not comfortable sharing that, totally fine. What did you learn about Voltas in general? Just by having that discussion. Anyone want to start?
I think that we can have an idea of what our Volta is, and then somebody else hears it, and then they start pointing out other aspects, and you're like, oh, I guess that wasn't what and so it's at a different place because somebody right through their interpretation, and then you're like, yeah, you know what? That actually makes more sense.
Yeah, great. So Voltas are multi-dimensional. Great. Thank you, Daniel.
I think it was interesting, the structure of the 14 lines and having to allow a change within that structure was quite interesting, and it sort of didn't quite know where it was going to go. But it kind of felt like a vulnerability and an honesty as you kind of allowed that Volta to happen. And I still don't know how you spell Volta, whether it's ER or A.
Oh, sorry, it's VOLTA, Volta. Yeah.
Volta.
That might not be the only way to spell it. But yes, absolutely. There's a vulnerability to a Volta. I love how you phrased that you're, and it's unexpected. You don't know where it's going to go, or, in the sense that you wrote it not knowing there was going to be a Volta in it, or you might have been like, oh, I need to put a Volta in it because there's a sonnet here. But later, as you're reading it, you're looking for it. And so it's kind of unexpected. It's kind of a surprise. It's the best kind of writing, I think, is the kind that surprises us after we've written it. Thank you, Claire. That was great.
Actually, I let myself writing, and I end up with some mixed ideas coming back to them from the beginning. I will read it afterwards to see what I wanted to say there, because I couldn't decide between the two ideas, and I took them both.
That's great. Can I ask what the two broad ideas were? You don't have to answer.
The one we started from. This idea of could not live up to normal, and a truth that lives inside and others cannot see. Yes, I took them both.
I'm following you. That's great. That's great. I feel like that's kind of what Seuss did too. Like, she started with two very different questions and kind of braided them together as well. Oh, she does that a few times. Sympathy and empathy, acting, or I'm sorry, being and doing, the I and the you, like she kind of has these poles and then shows us how they're actually the same question. So that seems very Seussian. Hey, Catherine.
Nice to see you all.
Good to see you. We missed you today. I'm glad you got to pop in and say hi.
Ah, yes. I knew it's all over, but I bet it was lovely.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yeah. So we're just sitting here talking about Voltas, which Anna can fill you in on.
Oh,
afterward.
I'll give a prompt and I'll set it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Anna, I'd love to hear from you. What did you learn about Voltas, or about your particular Volta?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, if I could say to myself, I did a bit of a spoof on my own kind of prompt today. It was a bit more messy and stuff, but I did, I could even extract a little bit of learning combined with just sharing with other people and listening back to, I was Claire, so I was listening back to hers. And I mean, like, maybe two things today struck me about Voltas, and they're kind of different. They actually kind of contrast with each other. I think, but with the first one was nearly, well, particularly in human-centered sonnets, where we're talking about ourselves or human conditions and stuff. Sonnets, kind of when they come, it can be quite a empowering choice. And I mean, I know it can go either ways. It can be it can bring you up, or it can open you up vulnerable, and it can show both sides, obviously, of you, a strength or a weaker side. But I think there's definitely, as you warm up in the long lines of a poem, there is a kind of a warming up to this confidence to change a volta, whether that's subconscious or not. I just think there's a readiness for it, and there's a place for it. There's always a place for a volta. And in this case, the choice was a powerful one, and I think it was definitely owned, and there was I want my volta this way, and this is how I want it to kind of go, and so there's choice that sometimes come in a volta, whether it's obvious or planned or not. And then I think I've forgotten what my other learning thing was. I think it was kind of similar to it being vulnerable and probably not knowing where it comes. And always, yeah, I think it's very similar, actually, not at all different, but that vulnerability can also be a strong thing. It can be your strength as well. Yeah, I think the first thing was the most foundational one for me. I've forgotten what I'm trying to say for the second one. It's kind of bleeding into the same thing while I'm saying it. So, yeah, I think it doesn't always have to be choice, but I just think there's a reason why it ends up coming up, maybe sometimes. Yeah.
I love that. And it reminds me a lot of what we were talking about just about disability in general. This author is kind of warming up to the idea of that ownership. There's a readiness for it. And then by the end, there's power, there's ownership in vulnerability that is also a strength. There's an element of even choice to it, whether it's actually planned or not. So the volta actually becomes a kind of metaphor is not the right word, but the volta becomes a form that contains the possibility of disability as empowerment. At least as you're describing it so beautifully there. So thank you for bringing us back to that. That was just beautiful. I'm really glad you guys had a great experience writing your own sonnets. I'd love to, if you feel comfortable sharing them, I'd love to read them. And if you'd like to share them with others, I'm trying to do more student spotlights on our newsletter. If you'd like to be spotlit, please send me your sonnet. I'd love to share it. I know this poem was not a light or humorous poem. It made us ask very heavy questions, questions that needed to be asked, but I thought it might be nice to have a little palate cleanser too. So I'm going to close up with just reading you guys a quick poem. This is actually a love poem by our friend Diane Seuss, also from the same book of sonnets, which I highly recommend you check out. This is Intimacy Unhinged, Unpaddocked Me. Intimacy unhinged, unpaddocked me. I didn't want it. Believe me, I didn't want it anymore. Who in their right mind? And then it came like an ice cream truck with its weird tinkling music, its sweet frost. I fled to the shore and saw how death-strown all the body parts washed up and sucked clean like that floor mosaic by Seuss of Pergamon, unswept house. Seabirds flocked and dematerialized like they do. Bees raged at their own dethroning. Love came close anyway, found me out, its warped music all the rage. It had a way, just by being in proximity, of opening the shells of bivalves, disclosing their secret meat. One doesn't really suck unfrozen sugar water. One allows it to melt in the oven of the mouth. I'll let you guys close read that at your own leisure with your friends. But that I felt just left me with all the warm fuzzy feels. And some funny ones too. It's that this is a fun poem to sit with as well. So, all right. Thanks guys so much for hanging out with me again this month. I'll see you next month. Hopefully send me your sonnets if you like. It was such a pleasure to hang out with all of you today. Thank you so much. Stick around if you like.
Thank you.
Thank you, Esmeralda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. My cat as well.
Bye, Kitty.
Bye.
What's her name? Catalina. Catalina, what's her name?
It's Chupi.
Chupi. So cute.
Don't do that. She doesn't speak English. I have to speak to her in Romania, not to my.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
See
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
I was just going to say hi. How are you doing, Julia?
Really good. I am ready to have this baby.
Oh,
But-
when is it? What's the due date?
Not until Halloween. I still have 2 months to go, but I'm getting to the point where I'm like just complaining all the time.
But it's probably is it really hot here? And,
Trying to be present.
it must be hot, and you know.
Hot. It is too hot. It should be illegal to be this hot when someone's pregnant.
But you look blooming and beautiful, so I don't know. It must be suiting you, okay?
Oh, thank you. That's kind. I'm definitely.
Hi, Daniel. How are you? And hi, Catalina. Really nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
We were looking. I mean, I'm really sorry I missed that. Gosh, that sounded interesting. But Anna, no doubt, will fill me in. We were interested in your the coaching thing, Julia. But yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, that's Daniel and I have been doing. He's been my guinea pig for
protege.
Gosh, 9 months now. We've been doing this since the beginning of the year. And I'm having a blast. I hope he is too. And it just made me think it'd be fun to
open it up.
Yeah. We're starting a really fun section. In fact, Daniel, I'm just getting the reading all ready for you today. I'm going to send it over for you today, but we're starting a really fun section on dreams right now. And anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, we can be in touch with you about that, I suppose.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Please. It's really what I envision this kind of coaching to be is very tailored to whatever it is you guys are hoping to learn about or to do with narrative medicine. So, Daniel and I have been playing with bridging philosophy and poetry, learning more about the kind of, the more academic philosophical underpinnings of narrative medicine, and then linking that to actual poetry projects, and doing a lot of creative work. And we kind of follow, this weird, we call it our amoeba, it kind of reaches out and takes other things in that we find interesting. And then we circle back to where we began. And it's been a lot of fun, just kind of allowing it to flow and seeing what happens and all the different topics that come up and areas of interest that we can explore together. So it's really tailored to whatever it is you guys want to be working on.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Good timing.
Yeah, let me know. I would love to work with you guys if you're so inclined.
Catalina, are you where are you right now as we are doing this all the time? I've always been wondering, are you in Romania at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. Very good. But it's always on right there.
Yeah. But it's a perfect hour. It's only 11 almost, so it's okay. It's a very good hour.
Wow, yeah. A few hours ahead I was thinking that. Yeah.
It's perfect.
You're a good woman. Fair play, I would be in bed. I'd be gone.
No, I'm not. I would be here even if it would be 1 o'clock when I'm not forgetting to.
Yeah.
Sorry for the last time. I just didn't realize. I realized after. And
Oh,
so sorry. Yeah.
Well, I missed the last one too. I had to. I was gonna join, but then I couldn't. Yeah.
Oh, what were you up to?
I was in America. I was nearby, but I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just was busy that day. I think. Yeah. Yeah, it's always nice coming back though.
Okay. So, see you next month, I think. Are we going?
Catalina, yes, we'll see you next
Bye.
month. Bye.
Take
Good
care
night.
of you.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, Catalina.
Bye.
All right, friends, I think my husband is
Call
anxiously
you.
No,
trying to
yeah,
get
you
into
got
the
you
room,
got
so I'm gonna go
most of
ahead and
the
let him in.
people there, within and without, so it's okay.
Well, look, lovely to see you both.
Lovely
Guys.
to see you
Yeah,
guys.
we'll be in touch.
I'll
We'll be in touch. Okay.
Good luck with making a decision on whether you get a new dog or not, Daniel.
I think we're leaning towards getting the dog. It
Yay!
seems like it's gonna fit right in with the rest of these clowns.
I can't wait to meet him or her
Oh yeah, so cute.
or them.
Good times
I love
ahead.
the picture.
Lots of babies coming.
Yay.
Dogs early. Okay.
All right, friends. I
Bye.
love you all.
Bye, talk to you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Take it easy.